Doesn't bother me at a group table doing the romance stuff because it just feels like another thing that's happening at the table and another NPC and another personality that I'm diving into. I think if I had a solo campaign running, I'd be like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to do romance in this campaign.
That's probably when it does get awkward.
I am a married man. Thank you very much.
You're now spending your 3 to 4 hour session just,
literally romancing someone, flirting with someone. Yeah, we're both just doing this weird. Yeah. All of a sudden, it goes from being an aspect of the game to me cheating on my wife. Welcome to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. I'm Sov.
And I'm Greythorn.
You forget who you were?
I was just waiting for Nick to say something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Nick's unfortunately has had throat surgery, so he's just going to be listening throughout this one. But we may reference him every once in a while and tell you what his facial expression is, which right now is mostly just drooling.
Yeah, he took a foul ball to the throat.
Playing sports ball.
At the sports ball game.
Anyways, today's topic is a part 2 of our party composition topic, which we had done before, getting more into depth of the particulars of solo adventuring, pair adventuring, and, if there's enough time, a tasty little treat at the end, way too big parties and the fucking nightmare that they are. I know I could talk a lot about pairs, but obviously we might as well ramp up. So talking about solo adventures, I know I do, but do you have any experience with solo adventures? Have you ever run games solo?
I do not. I've only watched them. I have a solo game in mind.
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit.
I've never built it out. I know how I want it to go. I know the theme. I never had the time to actually flesh it out and find someone who's capable of playing that.
Yeah.
Especially because I have little sort of constraints involved in it.
Yeah, it's like it's built in a very specific way, including the character built in a very specific way.
It's a pre-made character. They have their whole backstory. You if you want to play in that game, you're gonna have to
accept
live that character kind of.
Yeah. It's fine. You've never been in a situation where your player's called out and you only had one player and you played anyway?
Well, at that point, we would usually just go play another game.
Like a video game or something. Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you also game with your table, right?
Yeah, so one guy's out and we're in an important part of the game. Well, guys, let's go play World of Warcraft or Monster Hunter.
That makes sense. I've done it. I didn't set out to do it, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a complete solo adventure. So the closest I ever came to it realistically. So I've done a mini adventure as a player. I think I've done that twice, actually. I've done mini adventures as players, and then I started a campaign. I was looking for a table, and I started the campaign with only one player. So I had this table that I was trying to put together, and it was taking a long time to get players, and I felt bad for the one player that I had already got. So I just started it, and we played for 2 months, I think, with just that player. And it kind of set a lot of the base for the adventure. And it was also nice that when other players started coming in, that there was already a play style to get them to latch onto, if that makes sense. Mm. It's definitely changed. It started off as a very gritty horror thing, and now some of my players describe it as their cozy Saturday game. It's changed so much. Eventually we got more players. So more people started filling seats, and the table did grow, but we were on 2 months of solo adventuring. Not as awkward as I thought it would be. I know a lot of people talk about oh, that's too intimate, too awkward. It's kind of fun. It's kind of there's a really nice aspect of it, which is, one, for writing encounters and whatnot, you're only writing them for one player. That's a real easy thing to balance. Mm-hmm. 2, there is no bickering or anything at the table. The thing that the party wants to do is very clear when it is one player.
Yeah, it's kind of like my reasons for liking when I split the party. Because then you have two individuals playing their individual thing, and they don't have to worry about someone else doing something else.
Yeah,
they can just they're there, and they can be themselves in the moment.
Yeah, they don't have to think about the table so much or other players or trying to include other players or anything like that. They just get to act and do the thing that they want to do.
Yeah, though I don't have any experience, I feel like a single player game, well, people would say could be awkward or more intimate because of the intimacy, I guess.
Just don't sit too close.
I feel like a more awkward player might actually flourish more.
Yeah.
In a single player campaign.
Oh yeah, I completely. I have. Oh, sorry. I did run an entire one shot as a. This is a cool thing that I would actually suggest you do to get a taste for it, and anybody that might be listening. You have a table. Your table consists of players. Those players have characters. Those characters have backstories. Your entire table calls out except for one. Cool. Play a one shot in their backstory.
Yeah. I've seen that done with Koibu.
Yeah, I've done that.
He's
it's wonderful.
Like, oh yeah, this is his character's past. Even if he dies here, he's not actually dead, but they're doing their thing. They're exploring their background.
I specifically have it's only come about once, but sometimes when I'm DMing for the whole table, I specifically like cultivate moments that I know I could come back to. Where like, okay, you guys are gonna camp down for the night. Cool. Let's move to the next day. Let's not describe everything. Let's just move to the next day. Next day happens. Because I know that I could come back to that if we wanted to, of like, oh yeah, remember 3 months ago in this character's adventure, you were sitting around a campfire, and that is where we are going to start tonight's session as everybody is going off to sleep. You yourself are still awake. You hear a sound in the woods. It doesn't sound like a predator. You don't feel entirely in danger, but it does call to you. And then you could just go have a little adventure with that character in that moment that has already passed within the campaign. Downtime's also great for that. And then if you can't cultivate those moments, backstory. Backstory one-shots or mini-adventures. They work great, and they add to the character's understanding of their backstory. It's also fun if your character has been arcing to jump back into the shoes of who they were before. Is very fun. Like if you have a character that is like otherwise started the campaign is like not very talkative and very aggressive and not trusting of others, and then they've gone through this whole narrative change where like now they're kind of a part of the team and blah 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 blah. They're no longer a lone wolf, and then you get to like, oh, we're gonna play your backstory tonight in a one shot. Remember, you were a lone wolf before you found this group. And then you get to jump back into those shoes. It's really fun. It's a good time. I think there's a lot you could do with solo adventures that you just can't do with a party, especially considering pacing.
Yeah. I mean, pacing is one of the biggest things when it comes to what you can do at any given time. And that's usually determinant about how many players you got.
Yeah, well, you might have a player that's like ready to move on and has been ready to move on for multiple sessions, and then you have the other 3 players are just RPing at each other, and so there's a disparity of like wanted pacing.
It's been 3 weeks, but we've been talking in game for 8 hours straight.
Yeah. I have stopped trying to like postpone planning sessions for that reason as well, where it's like, no, guys, we got 15 minutes left. Let's get your plans out and then we'll execute them next week, so that it doesn't end up being a 4-hour session next week of planning that leads to nothing actually happening.
Which you felt the bite of a few times.
Oh, more than a few times. Honestly, I like the planning sessions a lot. I really, really enjoy party planning sessions. It's just, if they go somewhere.
Yeah. It's a difference between our Night of the Long Guns planning and our weapons caravan heist.
Yeah.
The weapons caravan heist went somewhere because it had to.
It had to.
Yeah.
It was also your guys' planning session for the whole hotel thing, which my favorite part of that is you guys had like 4 or 5 planning sessions in that campaign, and 3 of those plans I'm sitting behind the DM screen like, you guys should do this. This will work. Please do this. But I can't say any of it out loud. The one plan you guys actually execute, in my head, I'm just like, they're not there. They're not there. You're going to go there and they're not there. And then you guys all almost died. And then instead, nobody came close to dying and you erased a hotel from the map. It's fine.
Deserved.
So good. Yeah, pacing. I mean, again, it's just a lovely thing about having a single player and being able to openly talk with the player party. Me and Nix did a single session of what was supposed to be the beginnings of a mini campaign that was running simultaneously alongside our actual campaign. And we weren't even going to play every week. We were going to meet up occasionally so that, because I wanted to do a lot of downtime and plan ahead. Like, I was like, hey, I want to make rolls to hire hirelings, but I want them to be good hirelings. And if someone isn't a good hireling, I would just spend more time doing this. So can I make rolls in that sense? And then, so I would make a roll and maybe it takes me a week to find that hireling. And then I would have to wait till the campaign caught up to it. But that was me kind of dictating the pacing, where I had the freedom as a single player to be like, hey, I'm fine burning a week on this one activity. You can't really do that in a full table because the other players don't want to waste a whole week,
Yeah.
or they want to do things tomorrow. You know what I mean? So like pacing gets to be dictated between 2 people, only one of them being a player. That's another aspect that's just wonderful.
Yeah, that is a problem that I find when I play my 4 people tables, is that sometimes I do want them to have this idea in their head that they can just, do downtime stuff.
Yeah.
But they all kind of have to be on the same page about it.
Yeah.
And there's maybe not something pressing, but somebody always wants to do something during that downtime. Now that downtime has just been elongated by.
Now, yeah, oh my God, I have that recently where one player sat down to do a full day's worth of downtime activity. And then the rest of the party, and that was agreed upon, like that's what everybody was supposed to be doing. And then the rest of the party was like, actually, we want to go over here on this little mini adventure. And that player was just, I kept checking in and I was like, hey, would you prefer to go on this adventure? I know nobody's asking you in character, but I'm, for the sake of fun at the table, asking you blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, they're okay. Like, they don't mind just listening, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we played a whole session. And that character was just sitting there tinkering on their little artificer stuff while the rest of the party was out doing an adventure.
Half the party's out doing an adventure, one guy's at home blowing glass.
Yeah. It's real easy during downtime activity if people want to be doing things to disrupt the pacing of downtime activity. By the way, that was fine. Everybody at that table was happy. Wasn't a big deal, but I've seen that happen elsewhere in that same vein where it's like, no, we need to all be doing downtime activity or we need to be all playing the game. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about there being players. Like some players are happy being a spectator in their own game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I value and cherish those players because sometimes they enjoy playing as much as they enjoy watching somebody else just ruin the world for the rest of them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great. Not always the case. Sometimes you got guys that just want to throw dice at stuff all the time.
Yes.
And that's where things kind of become an issue.
I think that's, yeah. I think players that need a lot of action, I think need to be in very specific campaigns. Mm-hmm. Whereas spectator players can be anywhere. But yeah, the players that need a lot of action, again, ideal for a solo campaign though, because again, you can set whatever pace you want to set. It doesn't matter. That's what I love about solo campaigns. It's also, we'll get into this in a moment, but not just pairs, but specifically couples campaigns is, when you have a solo player, it's whatever they want to do. There's no table to disrupt.
Yeah, realistically, the player is now setting the pace.
Yeah.
All the time.
And the theme. Mm-hmm. If you go in and and they just start killing everybody and murder hoboing, cool. Then it's a murder hobo campaign. Are they having fun? Cool. Also, when consequences fall upon a player party of 1, they know it's their fault. Ain't nobody to blame.
No one but themselves.
Yeah.
They might blame your dice. They might blame their dice. But ultimately, they're the ones that chose to go into the guard post and start killing people.
Yeah.
All right, let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Nobody else did that. So, it's also just really easy to establish with the solo player things like that. The theme that you want to play with, the narrative arcs that they were interested in. Like a lot of times, at least for my games, the way in which I find players is pretty ripe for players coming to me and being like, I have this backstory and there's some elements that I would like to be addressed, or I wouldn't mind if they get addressed, and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes that's really hard to do based on either what the campaign narrative is or what the player party is doing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I want to start a garden, but then the player party's always on the move. And it's like, well, how?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you have a solo player, all of those things are very achievable.
Yeah, all of a sudden their twin brother can show up in the middle of town.
Their twin brother can show up in the middle of the town, or they get word, because this happens, right? You get word that your twin brother is in the next city over. Okay, but we have clocks running right now for the activities that we can't just go to the next town as a player party.
Yeah, we got a noble to kill here tomorrow, the only time he's ever going to be here.
Yeah. But when you have just one player, it's like, yeah, fuck off to the next town. Who cares? You know, if that's what you want to do. It's not a big deal at all. So also, I think like I could see this getting into it being too intimate thing. But the only issue I have with romance arcs is it's between a player and an NPC, but it eats up the same amount of time as PC to PC RP does. So at the table, you have one player interacting with the scene, while the other players just have to sit there and listen to them have their fantasy romance. It's a good story. It's a good arc. It's fun, but probably not necessarily for everybody. But it could be with a solo player. You could spend as much time as you want on this scene.
Yeah, this entire session
You
could
set the
just be
pace.
your guys' ERP scene.
Yeah, absolutely. What'd you call it? ERP?
Erotic roleplay.
Oh, erotic roleplay. I mean, I don't think I would go down that route, but
He puts on his wizard hat.
oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't think I'd go that route. I think, oh my God, if I also like, it doesn't bother me at a group table doing the romance stuff because it just feels like another thing that's happening at the table and another NPC and another personality that I'm diving into. I think if I had a solo campaign running, I'd be like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to do romance in this campaign.
That's probably when it does get awkward.
I am a married man. Thank you very much.
You're now spending your 3 to 4 hour session just,
literally romancing someone, flirting with someone. Yeah, we're both just doing this weird. Yeah, all of a sudden it goes from being an aspect of the game to me cheating on my wife. But my point is that if you weren't me and you weren't married, romance I think would play better at a solo table. There's just a lot of things that just get to be set in that situation that makes for cleaner play. In all of the strife that you find at a table, you don't find it at a single player party table. The only strife that you find is you don't get the party composition style combat. You don't have the healer and the tank and blah, blah, blah. You don't have that, right?
You don't have a set group to back you up in your decisions.
Yeah. Although you could.
You can, you could find companions or NPCs and whatnot.
Find NPCs and let the one PC, the one player control all of the tokens. So, because it would be very shitty if you had like 4 NPCs combating and the player only controlled the PC. They're like just not participating essentially in the combat.
I don't know. I think that might be a bit tricky, but in my opinion, I feel like if I were playing as a player in a solo campaign, I wouldn't want to control my NPC allies. I would want to maybe dictate to them what they should be doing, and like before the fight starts or in the middle of battle, be like, hey, I don't know, Rogar, you go kill that guy, or cleric, I need healing and stuff like that. But I'd rather the DM control the NPCs at all times.
In general, that's how I feel. I definitely would not allow the player to narratively control the PC. But I would allow the player to control the combat mechanics of the PC. Of the NPC. I think that'd be fine. And I can see that being fun of like, okay, I'm playing a singular character, but I have the mechanics of a party composition to play with. I think that'd be really cool. I think there's a lot of solo campaigning that I would be really into, both as a DM and as a player, to be honest. All right. Pears. The fruit. Delicious.
I don't get
it. I just want to see how awkwardly long we would stare at each other at that pause.
Oh, you don't know how long I can stare awkwardly.
Lovely.
Silence is my natural state.
It's true. You are more comfortable in silence than you are. Well, I was the one that broke, wasn't I? Pears. So, I think Pears is a pretty spectacular way to play the game, and it's something that U1 is very comfortable with. We've done a lot of Pears play, including months and months of Realm Watchers, our recent system exploration, the U1. A lot of this channel is going to be Pears play anyways, and there's a lot of really cool aspect about Pears play as well, I think. Outside of U1, have you done any Pears?
Once or twice. I know that my first Delta Green game that I played with my group ended up being a pair for the first operation because the third one just didn't show up. So, I mean, that...
Oh, the recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, the game that I ran for you and Nick's, I ran that one with just 2 people because the third guy wasn't able to make it or didn't show up, whatnot. I'm not sure what to say. It depends. I imagine it greatly depends on the 2 players themselves.
I mean, always. Yeah.
There has to be like a level of comfort and rapport because there's not a third person to lean on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of an aspect that I like about it is while you have the issue that happens at a lot of tables, which is even numbers, there's only 2 people. So it's way easier to come to a consensus. Rather than when it's like 4 people and then it's like 2v2, or like if it's ever 3v1, obviously that person we're not doing what that person wants. When it's 2 people, it's really easy. First of all, with a solo player or 2 players, there's so much screen time in the session to be had that lending really long scenes to one player doesn't feel bad, including when doing that with pairs, in my opinion, at least. But there's also just when there's only 2 of you, there's only one other person that you need to care about, and that's a lot easier. I think when you have like 5 players at the table outside of just yourself, it's really easy to start thinking about you and your character only. When you only have one other person, you're in this dynamic of having a partner. So even their flaws you're focused on, their strengths you're focused on, you know them well, you get used to their features and whatnot that they're capable of doing. You get used to like, oh, who should do the talking? Who should do the scouting? who should sneak around back and break in. You become very comfortable with that dynamic. I think the partner dynamic works really well. Whereas like a whole group always ends up being arguing.
Everyone arguing about whether they should, talk to this guy tomorrow, or maybe we should just forget about that guy and just go around him and kill everybody else.
Yeah.
It's
Well, also, like if you have 4 people with 4 different ideas, it's really easy to latch onto your own idea as being the outlier and the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you only have 2 people, it's
a lot easier to work out.
Well, it's also a lot easier to lend that, well, it's my idea versus your idea. One of them is correct. One of them is going to be the thing that we should do. So it's a lot easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier to work out, and it's a lot easier to land on one. It's also a lot easier to just have a reasonable conversation of like, okay, well, what I'm worried about is that all of the guards are going to hear us, and then we're not going to be able to steal anything at all.
Mm-hmm. You might find like a better back and forth if it's just 2 people.
Yeah.
And that back and forth might actually help them realize flaws that they might have with their own ideas.
And their own character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially if they're good at role playing. It could be flaws within their own character, which is, a feature that I think every character should have is the ability to just grit their teeth and get on with it. Every character. You're a paladin sworn to do good and glorious things in the world, and your party wants to do something evil, but for the same means to the end that you want. Grit your teeth. Do the thing. If the whole party wants it, at least. You should be able to grit your teeth and move on. It's way easier to do that with 2 people, in my opinion. It's also easier with only 2 people to look at someone and be like, all right, but if things go bad, just remember, I didn't like this plan.
Just remember the last time we followed your plan. You got that?
Yeah. But also, I just see it commonly as we've played it with the various iterations of Yumi and Nyx, as well as other pairs that I've played with, either as a player or as a DM. I see it just very quickly funneling into both the players and the player characters learning how to talk to each other and just get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it takes so long for 3 or more players to get fucking anything done.
Well, that could also depend a lot on like the player character composition too, because like,
of course,
if you have someone who seems to be like the leader in the situation,
yeah,
like Bot and Bill,
yeah, G&G worked out really well. I could see where a group of strangers might not want to do that, and it would be really, really hard to dictate with a group of strangers who's going to be the boss. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The leader. But yeah, we did that with our home table with, we started with like 9 players, but spoilers for later in the podcast. But later in that campaign, it whittled down to less players, but we always had that dynamic of Bot and Bill being the leader of your guys' little clique. And that worked out really well because you had players that were trying to prove themselves to you, another player, and trying to show their values so that their words meant more when group discussions were happening. And then you had other players that were like, hey, I have these worries, but I trust you, Bot and Bill. So whatever you say, we'll do it. And they would bring you concerns, but otherwise still fall in line. It worked really, really well. If you could ever, that's another thing. This is kind of off topic, but if you have a party that you trust, a player party that you trust, playing a game with a group dynamic where there is a leader is such an excellent experience. I really enjoyed that with G&G. I wonder, it'd be very interesting to talk to that whole table and get that whole table's input, because right now the only input I can get would be, how did you feel about it as the leader?
I mean, being the psychopath that I am,
mm-hmm.
Both in character and as me, Greythorn,
mm-hmm.
I thought it was neat. I liked the ability to move things along when I thought it was important.
Yeah.
And I liked being able to have that sort of like inner DM play out in my character by sending people places and splitting the party.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was great.
It was kind of nice, having an in-game DM on top of the game's DM.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, the way you were like dictating jobs and organizing things and sending people over here to do this mission, sending Ace over to do an assassination, and then sending this person over here to get the deed to this thing, and and collecting everybody together when there was an important big thing to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But most importantly, having a final say at the table that can move the story along.
That was,
for better or for worse.
That was the most important aspect of it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if a lot of like stranger tables can do that.
I think you'd have to know your table pretty well.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to know your table pretty well. But I do think that like I think Nyx could handle it. I think I could handle it. Be like that role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely think all of us could handle not being in that role. You know what I would love to do is play a shorter campaign and throw Ace into that role, because I think it'd be a nightmare, but I'd be really into the idea. Also, it'd be really interesting to explore what mutiny would look like in that type of hierarchy.
Oh God. You know, it's funny too, because
I'm gonna make that a short and tag a minute.
now we mentioned that, I'm thinking like of my online group, my cell 4.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I were to ascribe the leadership role to any one of them?
It'd be different every time.
I know. I kind of want to do it now, and I want to give it to Morgan, but that'll probably end up a mutiny. I think if I give it to Morgan, ends up in mutiny. If I give it to Haku, ends up in chaos. If I give it to Kaiman, it might be a smooth game that goes places that follows the breadcrumbs that I put out. And I'm not sure what will happen if I give it to Harmu at all. That is a mystery.
Sounds like Harmu is the one to give it to then.
I think I think all of them would be entertaining from a DM perspective. From all the various things that I love watching,
Mm-hmm.
I think each and every one of them could be an interesting leadership character.
Yeah.
I just got to figure out how to do it.
I think that about our home table as well. Like, I wonder what it would be like to play with that thought process. But also, I feel like it has to be a campaign. I don't think we could do that one in a mini campaign, because
Definitely
like
not.
everybody would just write like, "Oh, I'm a follower, and who cares if my character dies?" It's a mini campaign.
You need to have the full campaign, so there's some sort of
there's stakes.
Growth. Yeah, stakes is importantly. Conflicts that grow up between leaders and followers as well.
Yeah.
If somebody feels like the leader is failing them or the leader is making terrible decisions.
Yeah.
You know, that mutiny.
Mutiny.
Hey boss, look. You sent like 5 letters out back to home base. We gotta talk about that.
The group comes together at the table, and then like whoever the DM is just like, Ace, you're not there. Sorry, you're not there. You have no say in this conversation. As the rest of the group's like, guys, I don't think we can keep following Ace. He sent like 5 letters back home.
Each time after speaking to the enemy leader.
That'd be wonderful. So one version of pairs that I am very well versed in is, or I'm becoming very well versed in, I should say, couples, which is a very unique way of doing pairs because it gets rid of even more of that bickering and arguing. I love running couples games. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I really enjoy it. You get that same thing that you get from a solo campaign, because at least obviously everything's dependent on the couple, but if it's a healthy couple,
oh God, imagine a toxic couple.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do it. If it's a healthy couple, you get that same thing that you get from the solo campaign, which is a kind of just in general agreeance. the party is pretty cohesive enough that they want to do the same thing.
They understand each other. They want to generally work together.
And do the do a thing. Especially couples games where the characters are couples as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a dynamic duo thing. Yeah, it works really, really well in that same way that solo campaigns do or solo parties do, where, they very much share a goal and how they want to achieve the goal. And the bickering and arguing that you find at a table, surprisingly, is a lot less. There's a lot of I really, really enjoy. Also, like, no disruption. So I can imagine even with pairs, let's say it's you and me, we're playing as a pair, right? I might do something that fucks over your character in some way, or I might be selfish, or I might do something that has consequences. That's a better one to talk about. I might do something that inadvertently puts consequences down onto your character. And there's that, obviously conflict arises from that. In general, with the couples, what I've experienced is that they care pretty greatly about consequences to the other person. They're very much thinking as a team rather than two individuals that work together. And it just works really well. There's no disruption because they don't want to disrupt each other. They also, in general, a lot of times for me, it's couples coming to me to run their date night, right? So they're already coming into the session
looking to do a thing with each other.
Well, not just that, but with a focus on the other person's enjoyment, which is a aspect of player responsibility that I think gets very commonly missed, even amongst good players, very commonly missed, where Grey comes to the table and is thinking about Grey's character, not Nyx's character. And in doing so, not thinking about Nyx and how Nyx is enjoying the game on this very night. Sometimes that's fine. But overall, everybody should want everybody at the table to be having a good time. You know what I mean? Send Ace to do the assassination mission. He's going to feel like he accomplished something. It's utilizing his skills. Him as a player is going to have a great time. You as the leader are dictating that it happen. If it goes well, you get that satisfaction. If it doesn't go well, at least that player got to have a good time playing the game. It's a great experiment in making sure someone else at the table has a good time. Couples come in automatically trying to make sure each other are having a good time, which is a really, really nice aspect, a party composition
party
thing.
Dynamic.
Yeah, party dynamic. Table dynamic. That's a better way. It's a really, really nice table dynamic.
Sounds like a bunch of losers to me.
Wow.
I come in playing the character. I'm not thinking about nobody else.
But if your character is in love with another character...
Yeah, that's different.
Exactly. So that's, when I was saying, think about if me and you came in as, a pair, we might have those conflicts where we're thinking about our character, and we have this teammate, but they're just a teammate. Now, think about if we came in as a couple, both as a player party and as at the table.
Missing your wife right now?
Yeah, she's been gone for a few weeks, bud. Cannot come home soon enough. All right. I think that is a good time for us to absolutely slog our way through our loot table.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Come on, everybody. Let's get hyped.
Let's go and roll.
Yeah.
On the loot table. Let's go and see
Let's
who
do it,
our
everybody.
sponsors will be.
Come on. Let's go.
Let's go roll on the loot table.
All right. Today's sponsor is what was the name again?
Purple worm.
Yes, purple worm. Something near and dear to our good friend sitting right here at the table with us, Nix. Nix, if you don't know this, is getting up there in age. And sometimes his gear is also old and worn. And he does struggle sometimes coming into a battle. And his sword is just a little bit limp compared to the way it was in his youth when he first bought it.
You'd say that his D12 is feeling more like a D6.
Well, that's where Purple Worm comes in. If you're a warrior who's a bit up there in years, but still wants to go out and adventure, but needs that extra little bit of help to be the adventurer you once were in your youth, just consume a little bit of Purple Worm. What do we call it?
A warrior enhancement pill.
Warrior enhancement pill. Struggling to keep up on the battlefield with all those youngin' adventurers.
Is the haft of your halberd feeling more like a whip?
I don't even know how to end this thing. Listen, if you're struggling with these things, it is no laughing matter. It's important that all adventurers of all ages are able to get out there on the battlefield. And in that line of thinking, Purple Worm has made a product to make sure that you, in your geriatric adventuring days, can keep up with the rest of the adventurers out there in the world. No more will the young guildsmen of the world steal your adventures from you, as you can perform just as good as the rest of them. Enjoy Purple Worm.
If your barbarian rage lasts for more than 10 rounds without taking an attack, please seek a cleric immediately.
Love it. We're definitely rusty. You know what we need? A little bit of warrior enhancement.
I've only done one of those improvised ones.
That's about how well they always go, to be honest. The improvised ones are
I
hot trash.
I had Purple Worm on that list for a long time, just never got to writing it. I should probably do a proper one.
Probably. Love it. So, all right. We talked about solo adventuring. We talked about pairs and couples. This will probably be a short but very, very sweet dessert topping for the end of the session. Oversized tables and the fucking nightmare that they are for both players and DMs. Our first campaign at our home table, where at least that I was a part of, I believe started with 9 players. No, 12.
Yes.
Started with 12 players.
Yeah, good old Sov's one shot.
Sov's one shot, birthday one shot. And it was absolutely fucked.
His very first game.
Mm-hmm. It was miserable. It was mostly me and my brother just screaming at each other.
And getting
over
progressively
everybody.
drunk.
Getting progressively drunker. I thought it was a drinking game. It's not.
Well, I mean, it can be.
Well,
Sometimes it should be.
it was also just it was just way too many people having way too much input. And then, as much as I love spectators, way too many spectators also at the table.
At that time, at that kind of game, everyone's spectating at some point.
At some point, yeah. You genuinely run into times where, like, even with our extended length sessions that we were playing back then, we played like 6-hour sessions, 8-hour sessions. There were players at the table. There were active players that do like participating that just never got the spotlight. Mm-hmm. You would have whole sessions where you just didn't play.
Yeah, your brother got pretty frustrated, I feel, at certain points in time because there's nothing to throw dice at.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking.
Yeah, nothing to throw dice at, nothing to do, no interactions because someone's off having their little thing. It was very, very easy to be disruptive. We had it was Ace. I don't think he was trying to do anything bad, but Ace realized that we hadn't been in a town for a while. He got sent on a mission into a town with my brother's character, Captain Fancy Pants. They were sent in to do this like investigating, and for whatever reason, they wanted to stop off and buy a bow. It was not genuinely a long interaction, but also we didn't have much money at the time, so He wanted to negotiate the bow and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, he ate like 15, 20 minutes out of the session with 12 players.
Yeah, that was before his whole shenanigans of stalking a guy, trying to set a stone building on fire, and then hiding in a tree.
Yes.
With advantage.
Same session though. But also like, okay, so we split the party with 12 players. 2 of them went off to do a thing. The rest of them went off to do something else. And it happened to be the 2 players that hit. And they had to play through the 2 hours of intense activity. Because if we went to the other players, time would have gone on too long. As in, like, we would have moved time too far forward past that intense moment with those 2 players. So it was a table full of 10 people watching 2 people play. It was very easy to disrupt. Players were absent all of the fucking time, and including times where they had important things coming up in the campaign, or were in the middle of an interaction or whatever. That's another thing. We hardly ever got to put a pin in the session at a satisfying point. It would be like halfway through combat or halfway through conversations. Because every time you add a character, you add like 25% or even 50% longer to how long it takes to get through something. So to have a massive player party like that was miserable for so many reasons.
At that point, I think we didn't even call each other's characters by names. We were just calling each other by like our classes.
Yeah, I was just the bard.
The bard.
Yeah.
I was the cleric.
So that was a miserable experience. Eventually, and this is another thing that we'll get into of what eventually happens. Like, you might have all these aspirations for a big party, and then here's what it turns into. Players start becoming absent. They start becoming absent more and more. Then they stop coming entirely, and your party whittles down to like 5 players anyways. So just play with the 5 players. Don't believe me? G&G, when we first started, also started with, I believe, 9 players.
Yeah.
Far too many players. We went through a very, very long session 0 because of the style of session 0. Got everybody involved. And then, again, to be fair, with the level of spectators that we had, as soon as we got going, it was a little bit smoother because we had a lot of spectators. And the leadership thing really helped out in G&G because you could just put your foot down. So there was a little bit of discussion and then we move on. A little bit of discussion and we move on. But still, that little bit of discussion often took a session, like a whole last session. And then, yeah, just players going off to do their little things, whatever they are, to have their moment in the spotlight because they have some activity or backstory thing. And it just ate so much time. And again, you had players at the table who just didn't play in the session. And even when you try and bounce back and forth with that many players, if they're actively doing things take time. It was just miserable. And eventually, it whittled down as some players would be absent and they're not going to make it, and then they're losing interest, and then they stop coming entirely, and then we had 5 players again.
That's how you know that those players are the real ones.
It's always the same 5.
Yeah. Well, hopefully all the stragglers and the guys who would abandon the game would do something funny that would kind of set something up for the rest of us to deal with. Which, did happen in G&G. And that was great. Which is, Sov is here to tell you about the nightmares of big player tables. I'm going to tell you about some of the fun shit that could happen with big player tables.
I'm here for it. Hit me with it.
All right. You know what you don't get in a group of 5 people? You don't get someone fucking up reliably. All right? That is one of my favorite things, is when you have 9 people at a table, there's a higher chance of someone doing something that affects everyone else, and everyone else has got to deal with it. Well, and if it's sure, sometimes this might be something stupid, but sometimes it creates a beautiful narrative.
It does. And it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what you have, just speaking vaguely, because nobody cares about a game that they didn't watch us play.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have situations where when you have that big of a table, and then you pull 2 characters aside, and you're like, hey, you guys need to go do this thing. You need to do it in this specific way so that you don't get caught. And you need to go this direction. And if anything happens, you need to say these things, blah, blah, blah. Because you guys collectively, while all together, had made this plan. And then nearly an entire session goes by because there's so many players and so many things to address and so many things to figure out that by the time you get back to those 2 players, they don't remember any of the details of what they're supposed to do, and they mess the whole thing up and make what is essentially consequences that dictate what the table is doing for the next 6 sessions.
Beautiful.
It was pretty amazing.
Loved it.
It was pretty amazing. God, I love new players so much too. It's so funny. I think I'm more fond of new players than I am veteran players. Especially in well-established systems. Because new players don't know what's going on, right? And they're just out there trying to do their best all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't feel bad being nice to new players. But, define nice. When I say, hey, so let me get this straight. You're taking all of those stolen horses and you're going to ride them through the middle of town. Yeah? The town that has the corrupt sheriff that is in bed with the gang that you stole these horses from. Mm-hmm. Are you sure? I would never do that with you. If you told me that you're going to ride through town, I'd be like, okay.
I would have so much less respect for you if you did do it with me.
Yeah. Okay. So just to be clear, you're riding through town? Sweet. All right, let's do it. So you start riding through town and they're like, hey, how'd you get those horses? But with a new player, especially one so young, with a new player, it's like, hey, just to be clear, this is the thing that you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. In the middle of the day? Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to hold your hand.
It's the beauty of a big player table. Now, sure, that might eat up the entire day, the entire game.
It ate up 6 sessions.
Yeah.
The consequences, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, though.
Yeah, it was.
It was beautiful.
You don't get that kind of stuff with just 4 people. You get that stuff with a couple. You don't get that stuff with one guy.
Yeah.
You do get that stuff with 9 people.
You don't. That's another thing with the solo and the couple, or the pair, in comparison to really, really big tables. They're such polar opposites in that very, very way, where you have so much time to do something with a smaller party.
Mm-hmm.
You have time to think about the consequences and the outcome and all of the things.
Yeah, the consequences could happen in the same session as opposed to 1 or 2 sessions down the line.
Yeah. With a 9-person party, you might even think of those consequences, but at this point, you recognize that the planning part of what you're doing has already gone on for 2 hours. So at that point, you feel like an asshole for being like, hey guys, if we do this, this consequence might happen, blah, blah, blah. Because 1, you're extending the conversation. 2, that might make another 2-hour conversation about. So sometimes you just keep those things quiet and then they blow up at the fucking table. Big parties are a fucking nightmare. With a table of people that I love and respect, such as our home table, I don't terribly mind it. The only thing that bothers me is that pre-existing knowledge that it will burn everybody out and it will whittle down to nothing.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like, what's the point? But I actually don't mind it in play. Especially as the DM, I get to play all the time.
Mm.
And I also don't mind when I don't. A lot of my favorite moments is when I'm just sitting there quietly because the players are RPing at each other. I love it. That doesn't bother me at all. So in a table with 9 people, even as a player, where people are going and experiencing their own scenes and doing their backstory stuff. None of that really bothers me. I think it's pretty spectacular to have that large ensemble, which is why, more prominent groups that take it very seriously are able to do those big tables, and it works out fantastically because there are really cool things that could come of it. But the reality is, at a fucking home table, it's a nightmare. It leads to so much arguing. There's so many consequences that come from such small, stupid mistakes. It's long planning sessions. It's a lot of people playing on their phones and shit. It's not this spectacular cinematic version of what people think large D&D tables are or TTRPG tables are. And a lot of players are not comfortable and feel like they are wasting their Friday night or whatever if they come to a table and don't play for a night. And it burns people out, and then it whittles down to a small group anyways.
Yeah.
So to me, it just feels pointless when it's happening because I know it's going to whittle down. But the actual play of it, I don't mind. I enjoyed G&G when we first started with 9 people. I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah, same. The thing about the big people, big player, big party player, whatever. The thing about that thing is that you kind of need a lot of people who are really into the aspect of role playing, because people like that, not only do they enjoy the role playing themselves, but they enjoy watching other people play their characters.
Yeah.
And if you have a big table like that, you might have a lot of very different characters at a table. And we did.
Yeah.
Every character at our table was fairly unique.
Yeah.
And but then another big downside is that for like every player you have beyond 4, you need like another like 45 minutes of total game time just to have like a satisfying game day.
Yeah.
Because that it doesn't feel like it. It really does not feel like it when you're playing. But that time disappears
so quickly,
really fast, and you get almost nothing done.
It's the funny duality. I've had that with a couple of sessions over the last. I've had that with a couple of sessions over the last 2 weeks where I don't want to interrupt, and it's all party members participating. But I know it's like, man, we are going to be stuck on this singular day within this narrative for so long. I can hear the way the conversation's going and developing and what people are talking about, and it's like, we're not going to move on to any action for multiple sessions. I could just tell from a conversation. You know what I mean? And I don't want to interrupt because the players are enjoying themselves. They're RPing with each other. But here's another problem with those big parties. It's not actually the party, but it's just consequences of RP like that. And my Saturday table is a wonderful example. They love deep RP. We mostly RP. We hardly ever do any combat at all, ever. And it's wonderful. And everybody is into it. But there's a thing that happens where like a couple months of RP will go by, and then the players, even though they enjoyed every single session and they were having fun and they were in character and they were having a good time, they have that itch. They want combat. They want action. They want something to happen. And you can kind of cultivate that with a smaller table and be like, okay, well, you guys want something to happen. Why don't we go on this little mini adventure? It is from the hook of the mini adventure. You know something's going to go down. Let's make things happen. Really easy to do with a small table. With 9 people, sometimes you're stuck in a campfire session for 4 sessions in a row.
Yeah.
And like that, again, has that problem with that counter thing of like, you're going to burn through months of RP and people are going to be itching at the table. We have 9 different people now itching at the table to do something actiony. And it also just makes people want to be more disruptive and chaotic. Mm-hmm. Let's burn down the bar because at least something's happening. Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. I hold that opinion of large tables. It's
definitely
very
a nightmare
interesting
to make it satisfying for everybody.
It's hard to make it satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make it interesting and satisfying unless you know you have a table full of people that are genuinely vested in each other's characters and willing to sit back quietly and watch other people RP. But if you don't have that, it's a nightmare. And if you have that, and it's all chaotic players, I imagine it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe you have to play silly, goofy, stupid fucking campaigns where like your characters are a little bit too powerful for consequences to matter as they constantly suffer consequences.
Yeah, like our first game.
Yeah, Lord's
Fall.
Mm-hmm. I can see that being a good way to do it. Anyways, that was the icing on the cake. Was don't do big parties. Small party good.
Do it.
Try it. Fail. Learn from it. Have stories to tell. Yeah. Thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast. I hope you had a good time. Like, subscribe, hit bells, links in the description, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, it's just me saying goodbye. Nix's throat surgery is preventing him from saying goodbye, and well, Gray's gray. So I will see you next time. Goodbye.